Hello. Good evening, and welcome to Turner Library. I'm your outreach librarian, Shannon Bowman Sarkeesian, and I am thrilled to introduce Pastor Joseph Policape, local author of many works in poetry and prose. And that is what we're here to see. So I'm just going to pass the mic over. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Ms. Shannon, and I'm very delighted that I'm able to get to come here, and thank you for the invitation. So, again, my name is Joseph Policape, and I am the author of two novels, a novelist, a short story, and three poetry collections. So I've been writing since the 1980s, and I always love writing. And tonight I'm here to talk about my new book, my new work, which is called Where Do They Bury the Dead? So this book, the protagonist is a young man called Alvarez. Alvarez is coming from a very, very rich family, and Alvarez did not know anything about politics, and he was trying to follow the order of his family, that his father, as well as his mother. They are doctors. He has two brothers, who both brothers were adopted brothers because the family thought they were not going to have children on their own. They adopted a twin, and then the twin were doctors, and he was like following their footsteps and trying to become a doctor himself, as well as an agronomist, while he was studying in school, knowing the politics in Haiti was never easy. So he decided that one day he realized that all his friends were disappeared one after the other. Once he realized that, he said, you know what, I have to do something about this. And one day, a good friend of his that he really loved a lot, they were studying together, doing everything together, and he disappeared, coming to school, he was not there, and finding out he was gone. And so many of them were gone, and the family were not able to find their bodies, to be able to bury them properly. So he said, you know that, I think this is a mission that I'm going to be taking on. But he thought that was something very easy, and knowing the politics of Haiti, he started talking to his classmates, telling them that he was going to try to find the body of his friends to bury them. And so somebody already carried him away, letting them know that he was about to do that. Then he started himself receiving his own persecution in the country. So Alvarez, now once it started, now he realized that he was all in a situation that he started having had to hide, but nevertheless, he had one decision, that he has to continue to follow his mission, is to find the bodies and to bury them. So he started working in the country, and then his parents did not know what he was doing. His brothers did not know what he was doing. As his good friend named Shane was doing that, knew everything. And in school right now, that he started talking to one friend after another, one friend or another, and he started gathering people together, and he started doing all these investigations. Then now the world is finding out, and they start following him. Once they start following him, they realize that, you know what, we need to try to kill this boy or doing something with him. But it was not easy for them to do that, because knowing that Alvarez was coming from the rich family, they were not really killing the rich. They were only killing people at first, all the rich people in the country, those with money, those with the means, were like closing their eyes on all the crimes that were taking place. They know so many young men have been disappeared. So many young women have been disappeared due to politics, because like somebody carried their name away in the fact that they were not really there to harm anybody. So, and he thought he was very naive, did not realize anything was going to happen to me. But all of a sudden now, they started killing those people, the young people that they start talking about the politics, because once they see one friend lost, they say, you know what? Another friend's lost. Now they start talking about it. Once they start talking about it themselves, and the government start going after them. The government start following them. Secret police started following them. So one after the other, they began to disappear. And that's how Alvarez get into, he started his mission, and he started working to save some of the people, to find some of those bodies that he got lost. And this is the way also. And also going to read one of the first story for me, and from the book that, from Where Did I Bury the Dead?
I'm going to read, first of all, the three major groupings that Alvarez was a part of in Haiti, along with the two others.
Yeah.
There are three persuasions.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I gotta keep my back. Okay, yeah. There are three persuasions of people on the island. One group is a government-produced class of entitled people. They parrot the government's desires to remain in power no matter what the consequences. They become rich off of corruption and greed. Their crimes are justified, and resistance against this class means death. This class of people has existed since the Republic began nearly 200 years ago. They are covered, meaning they are protected. They live individual lives off of a large collective piece of the pie. The sweetness of life is mirrored in the misery of others, sacrificed by and for this class of people. They don't have to send their children away from the island. They stay on the island, being the eyes and ears of the government. They casually report on others if others show any suspicion of resistance and independence. Government school was perfect for them, the normal socialization of fear that must be defined as obedience. In turn, they are taken care of by a government that rewards spying on one's neighbors, families, and friends. Then we have a group, which is the second group of people, who cling first desperately and then courageously to the life of innocence in a horrible, repressive world. They can emanate from any social class, but wealthy youth like Alvarez have been in the bubble from birth. They are competitive in terms of achieving their success by avoiding politics and putting everything in material greed. Love of money and their small circles of family and friends are the only things that matter. Outside of that circle, the world is a paranoid universe. These people are suspicious of any gesture towards justice or equity because self-interest is almost everything. This group is dazzled by the religion and the religious establishment. They're major protectors. They compete to rank higher, and the educational systems create their future. This group is also very religious. They believe that whatever they will be, it's in God's plan for them. They don't usually take defeat because with God they can do all things. Then there is the straddling of a fence. As the saying goes, eyes and ears ready to find the right place. This third group can go in and out of any group and strive for protection. For this group, protection can be gathered by family and friends or others. Their God is an opportunity, and they will get it no matter what group they have to consume themselves into to achieve their goals. They are steady, money, education, and class all depend upon learning to read the tea leaves of safety. And that means whoever is winning is the friend of this group. Like the first group, they live off and depend upon the mercy of others to live. But unlike the government gang, they have to depend on others day by day. They are the Thompson, Makut, and the Frog, and other defector groups that have been doing the killing and the kidnapping to create fear in the population and great openings for themselves and their families and friends.
As we know that Alvarez group were not a group that was like really making benefits of the government, because both the mother and the father were doing volunteer work. They were like doctors, but they were very, very rich. Both the mother and the father come from a very rich family, and they stay rich, and they were living in the upper crust of Haiti, and that's where Alvarez grew up. Alvarez did not even know what was going on in the poor areas. They themselves like just raised those kids in those areas. They didn't know anything about what is going on with the politics, and the father did not know that either. So they closed their eyes on what Alvarez is doing because they never knew that he would be doing something like that. Alvarez and did not know himself that his life was so in danger, but when his life finally was in danger, he did not even let the parents know that he was being followed, that when he go to school, but finally thanks to the school, that one day when the complaints come in, they let them know that so many kids were disappeared at the school. Now they let the parents know your son is one of those kids that are being followed from the school, so eventually you might have to take him out of the country, send him abroad or do something about it. But the parents were so innocent, they did not know anything like that would happen at first. So therefore, Alvarez's parents, as innocent as they are, they did not realize that Alvarez was getting into such a thing. But nevertheless, Alvarez, through his experience, he was learning a lot now about the government. He also getting a lot of experience. He learned how to escape from time to time. He was even able to save so many people from jail that were about to die, that were set up to be destroyed by the government. He went with his friend to the jail and were able to get those people escaped. So also can read a little bit about that for us.
Also, but I wanted to say before I do that, I wanted to read from the novel, the Alvarez Mission. I think that would complement what Pastor has been talking about earlier. Alvarez had one great mission in his young life. He wanted to start a movement to find the bodies of young students who had been killed by the government and secret police, and dumped in anonymous graves all over Port-au-Prince and beyond. But this mission came with its own shadows. But Alvarez thought his youth was his shield against an early mortality bent on blotting him out. A young, wealthy son in an oppressive and desolate country like Haiti is even more shielded against despair and resignation. They lived in a bubble, and Alvarez was trying to expand the boundaries inside his own country, a country that he didn't quite know, shielded so tightly against the mainstream Haitian reality that his class didn't know very much about the dictatorship at the top or the democratic terror at the bottom. Haiti was hopeful because he was hopeful. Haiti was determined because he was determined. Alvarez felt very sad this afternoon because he was thinking about the disappearance of so many young people in his school and the surrounding area. He decided suddenly, walking home from the neighborhood of Pentonville, visiting Jean-Paul Nelson, Pierre Richard, and Ronald Other, carried off by government thugs, and then disappeared from the face of the earth. They were never seen or heard from after all that beautiful, they were never seen or heard from after that beautiful, casual, sunny afternoon. Their family wanted so much to find their bodies and bury them, but the clever government randomly threw bodies away. The rich young avarice soul was awakened under that shiny midday sun. They snapped his friends in broad daylight. No midnight knocks on the door by these murderers. They came more marching into school, taking students out of the school. Some came back, and others were not heard from again, shrouded in silence and forbidden to speak their names. Every fiber of Ira's body and soul came alive with his mission. No matter what his friends and their family said about focusing on his studies, the faces of his friends and the faces of so many others that were killed by politics proved to be more compelling and made him compassionately awakened. Walking past a field that he and everyone in Port-au-Prince knew was littered with hundreds of bodies, he resolved that he could gather a group of do-gooders, and their mission would be uprooting the bodies to be properly identified and hand them over to their families. Alas, they would join the human community again, if only for a moment, with proper burials and then back to the world of the dead. He did not know how he would do it, but he would figure it out. This is the section that I'm about to read. It's what Pastor was saying about how Alvarez, who was then captured, went to the police station, was able to get inside of the jail cells and release, I think it was over 50 prisoners. I am sorry, officer, the sergeant responded. Go for failure. As Alvarez was approaching the security door zero, one of the officers asked him, "Where are you from? I need some help to carry the bodies to the morgue. Can you assist?" But Alvarez was clear but polite in his rejection of the request. "I'm unable to do that right now, sir, because I want to investigate the chaos inside, officer." "I'm sorry, officer," the sergeant responded. "Go fulfill your duty." Alvarez ran upstairs and found Shane with large rubber gloves. "Why do you have those gloves?" "I was able to show multiple crooks," he said, with controlled rage. "I have stories about the crimes that they have committed here. I found some important records. I can get the names of many of the victims and how they got killed." While they were talking, two officers were approaching. They both had their gloves on as they stooped down and were trying to collect samples. One of the officers stood to them. "What a mess here at the Bureau of Pentonville. How do you guys make it out?" "We are doing well." Shane opened his eyes. No doubt he was worried. The officer had a grin on his face as he moved his eyebrows up and down. Alvarez stood up. "Officer, I have an investigation to talk to. We do not have time to talk while we are doing this, but thank you so much for stopping by." "Oh no, I'm sorry. I never played with the secret police. Please forgive me. Good luck, officer." "Good luck to you too, sir." They saluted each other professionally and left. "Let's go, Shane. This is getting more difficult. We did what we were supposed to do by releasing as many prisoners as we could, and that makes me happy." They hugged each other and ran down the gray stairs and left the scene. Once they arrived outside, they took one of the police trucks and took off. Upon arrival at home, Alvarez sat on the brown sofa, pulled over a pillow, and laid his head on it. He breathed out some air. Then he turned on the television. The news reporter came on, and the government claimed the prisoner's death, as well as that of multiple police at the police station in Pentonville on two local terrorists who were inside the jail and released 56 prisoners. Alvarez sat there listening to a number of police officers who were dead. He felt good, at least for one day. The news came on again. "Oh yes," Alvarez said. The reporter informed the viewer that there were several police crews on the road to find the terrorists, but it would be hard because they were not able to identify them. Those 56 prisoners released from the prison in Pentonville were hardcore prisoners, and they were very dangerous. In addition, the reporter said the government would pay a lump sum to whoever brings the killers of the 19 police officers to justice. One of them was driving a police pickup truck, and anyone who was able to stop the truck, please call the police bureau. Alfred called his brothers to join him so they could listen to the news, and he told them that the news was about him and Cheney, his best friend, and that they had released the prisoners who were on death row and killed the police officers. The brothers saw some of it and were in awe, but their pride was mingled with fear for Alfred and the family. He told his brothers how he saw so many poor young men dead, and dropped on the prison floor, and some of those whom he and Cheney were able to save were about to be executed. However, he was lucky because no one was able to identify him, and Cheney, since no one was able to identify him, and Cheney, since they disguised themselves. How do you feel now, Senor Al? He continued. Are you afraid at all? I feel good. The secret is in my sacred watch. If it is with me and I touch it, no one can hit me. They can shoot me, but if I get a chance to go near them, I will be able to easily take their gun because the watch makes me strong and powerful. Are you sure that the watch has power? Osino asked. Oh yes, Alvarez replied. I am not going to listen to you, but both of you give me your own. I will try to hold them firm and try to take each one. I will hold Ricardo with my left hand and Ricardo with my right hand. Both of the brothers handed their oars to Alvarez. He held them. They had to yell quickly so he could release their oars. They realized that he had the power. Once he took the watch off, he was not able to hold any of their hands. Dr. Els was standing there watching them. He said, please don't share this with anyone because it might be a secret that was not supposed to be shared.
Dr. Elvis was Alvarez's father and was Endo, and was the two of them were the brothers, the twin brothers, and Shene was his best friend. So also I wanted to know that the book is both fiction and non-fiction, because I've lived in Haiti in the 1980s. Some of these things that I've lived through, I've seen them, I know them, I heard of them, and I have friends personally that went to school and did not come back and never returned. And until this day, I can believe them. They disappeared, and that was happening over and over in Haiti. So many parents were crying, so many parents where it was very difficult at that time. So, but for Alvarez, we can see also he had some power because of the wonderful safe watch that his mother was given to him. He was able to fight in the police, and he was able to go there and save some people. That was one some of his mission, to be able to save those people that were not only going to jail for no reason, but also to trying to retrieve those bodies that were buried, that was thrown in various places all over Port-au-Prince and outside of Port-au-Prince, to make sure that the family get proper value. And the next things that we're going to talk about is Alvarez himself, his missions, how he was really wanting to do his mission. When the father get to know that he was doing it, the father at first was trying to not get involved, but he realized that once the son was caught, the father became a national hero himself, because he wanted to make sure that the mission of his son was continuing, and that way the mission of the father was continued, because the mission of the son was continued, because the father was very strong. He stood there and he fight, and the two brothers were in one place sinking. I don't want to give all this credit of the books, but the father was in one place seeking for the bodies, and the brothers was in another place. But at the end, we know that Alvarez ended up dying, but both the father and the son become national heroes. We're going to see how Alvarez disappeared. We're going to ask Russell to please read that part of it for us.
This is right after Alvarez had been taken to the hospital, after he was, followed on the streets, and literally him and his closest buddy, Cheney. And once he has been shot several times and left to die on the street. His best friend Cheney rushes him to the hospital, or calls the ambulance, and they rush him to the hospital. He died, said Dr. Donna, which is his mother. Then Ricardo went and hugged his father. Then Brady went and wrapped his arms around them all. They were all silently crying together, while the nurses and the doctors stood and watched. Ricardo began to lament and say, God, why didn't you tell me that Alvarez was going to die the way he did? We could have spent our time playing instead of wasting it on the French grammar class, calculus, reading big geography, and anthropology books that would not even help us. We spent all this time studying under the electric poles on the streets of Petanville, and then this is what we got in return. Ricardo fell on his knees in shock. He could not believe that what he heard. He wanted it in his heart to scream at God, but self-control kept him from such irreverence. And he didn't want to hurt his mother and father any further. He surrendered to confusion and sadness. Ricardo and Racine hugged each other. The two went and sat while the others stood, though they were crying. Cheney said to the two brothers, guys, I think we need to go to see Alvarez before they put him away. Racino and Ricardo moved toward the parents, Mom, Dad, can we go see Alvarez before they put him away? That's a good idea, said Dr. Du Bois. He took his wife's hands and they moved toward a guard who stood at the door. Can you call the doctor for us, please? We would like to see our son's body, said Dr. Du Bois. The guard said, oh, you are the young man's parent. I am sorry. I was very sad when I saw the young man on the stretcher. The guard went and got the nurse. The nurse appeared. She shook hands with all of them and said, the doctor asked me to take you to see your son's body. Please follow me. She guided them towards the room in her very nice cap, blue Harrison, and black shoes. She appeared very professional and experienced as a nurse supervisor. But this time she felt uncomfortable, as she had no idea what she was doing. They saw the body under the blanket. She had covered the blanket and made it in silent shock. It was a dark-skinned, older, fat man under the blanket. This is not our son. Where is he, Dr. Du Bois asked. The nurse appeared as shocked as they were when she thought it was not Alvarez. They looked at each other with a sense of panic. I don't know what to say. I know he's on his bed, responded the nurse. The nurse felt sad, panicky, and embarrassed. I will call the doctor to check what is going on. Then Dr. Donna began to lament. Ricardo said, Mom, if we're going to grieve like this, we are not going to be strong enough to find his body. Dr. Du Bois turned to the nurse and asked her, who brought the body to this room? Two of our nurses brought him to the room. I walked with them to the room because I supervised this department, the nurse said. Then Dr. Du Bois said, where do you think the body is? The nurse told him, I have no idea, sir. Then Cheney asked, did you see anyone suspicious coming in? He was shot by the police near his home. No, I did not see anyone suspicious. Maybe you can ask the guard this question, said the nurse. The family and the friends walked towards the guard, and the nurse walked along with them. At this time, Dr. Donna was getting weaker. When the ambulance came here, did you see it? Were you around? Dr. Du Bois asked the guard. Yes, the guard answered. Were you around when he died in the operating table? Yes, I saw the nurse taking his body from the operating room to the hospital bed. Did you see anyone suspicious in the room? No, I did not see anyone. Robinson asked, is it possible that his body was taken to the morgue? Can we go search? The nurse responded, yes, it is possible to go check, but they have told us if he was being transferred to the morgue, but we can go check anyway. At that point, Cheney interrupted and said, please forgive me, I must go. My parents are waiting for me. I will try to come back to the house later. Cheney hugged each one of them and laughed. When they were about to go to the morgue, Dr. Donna cried more. She fainted. The nurses revived her, but it seemed that she was having difficulty standing. Both of the nurses and Ricardo noticed this, and with their help, she was taken to a hospital bed. Ricardo stayed with his mom. The guard, Dr. Du Bois, Racino, and Brady went to look for Alvarez's body. The body was nowhere to be found. The four men searched the entire ward. They could not find the body. Dr. Du Bois was thinking sold, and so were the others. The murderers had taken him, Dr. Du Bois said in a quiet but strong voice. He was in a merry-go-round days, but he was the head of his family, and he had to pull himself together before they went to his wife and his son, who were upstairs waiting for him. How ironic, Brady thought to himself, that Alvarez died because he was trying to find the dead bodies of his friends and other young people who were snapped from love and put into invisibility. And his fate ended up materialized. They took his body and threw it away like they had done so many others. Brady, we are about to go up and come, he heard her say that voice, as he snapped out of his revenue. They came back to the hospital to give the mother and son the bad news that Alvarez was nowhere to be found. Then they hugged the nurse, and they all left.
In the beginning of this story, I was thinking, should I have Alvarez died? And I said yes, and I said no. But for this story completely to make complete sense, for him to become a national hero, for this struggle to go around the country, that had to happen. And once that happened, the whole entire country was involved. The father was involved, everybody was involved, and that's how they ended up taking Jacques Valley was the president at the time, and his whole government was able to fall because of that. So this is the story, and I mean the story is not the entire story, but some part of the story. But as you know, they are looking for Alvarez's body all over the place, the same way like they were looking for the same way he was looking for his friend's body and his parents now, his friends, his brothers. Now they have to go and do the same thing for him until they have to find or not find again. When people buy the book and read it, they will know if either way they find him or not. I don't know if anybody has questions and comments.
Is that still going on in Haiti? I mean, I know there's a lot of people who get kidnapped in Haiti and held for ransom.
So as you can hear now, it's even worse. I mean, when the time it was like the government was doing it, and we knew that, but now it's the people, it's no government, it's like everybody's doing it right now.
It's a gang.
It's gangs now. Gang is running the country.
Running the country right now.
Yes, when I left the areas, we put in that it was gangs. The government was the one in power, they were the one doing the killing, they were the one doing the kidnapping, they were doing all that. But once now the government is no longer doing it, it's the gangs now that's taking over. It's horrible right now what it's going to in Haiti, because there's no place right now for anybody to hide. It's everywhere.
Today is Haiti's flag day, Haiti's Haiti's Independence Day, or something.
That's January 1st.
Flag Day.
It's a flag day.
Yeah, because a lot of people are at the center. All the Haitians, not all the Haitians, but a lot of people at the center.
Yes.
There are music and party up there.
Yes.
Flag Day.
May 18th is the flag day,
Yeah.
and Independence Day, January
I'm just
1st.
saying, that's why they're not here probably, because they're.
Yes.
They're still dancing, huh?
So,
That's great. That's kind of fun. They're
well,
still
most
dancing.
ladies do the right stuff, because you actually saw it, you wanted to.
This is something that I believe through, and I want another
It's
story.
fiction and non-fiction.
If it's fiction
It's fiction and non-fiction.
and non-fiction, fiction at the same time, because this is something that is, sometimes I'm thinking about all the things that I know that I live through in Haiti. My head is a library, and I would like to put some more of it down, and I would like to
So
write
this takes place in the 80s, 1980, or?
in the 1980s. In the 1980s. and I would like to write more about things that are even more horrible. What
Yeah,
in
it's
this book,
tragic,
what in this book, very tragic.
but still they march on.
So
Still, the people in Haiti still march on.
they still march on. Yes, that's the good thing. It's like the people are still marching on. They still, the kids are able to go to school. They still are able to do well. Some people don't understand how that happened because of all the stress, all the what is going on right now. But the people are able to survive.
A lot of their people are still being kidnapped.
They will have to be kidnapped for ransom.
Yeah.
Pastor, I don't know if you can explain why those gangs expanding in Haiti.
Why they are doing it in Haiti?
Yeah, they're spending more than expand, like go everywhere.
Why they do it everywhere right now? Because there's no government. When there is no government, and these people also the gangs, remember that there are a lot of money in Haiti, but the people don't have the money. The money is in the hand of few. So what they're doing now is unfortunately, it's not those few that have the money that's being paid. They're not even being kidnapped because they do have the police taking care of them. They have their own army taking care of them, so they're not being kidnapped. It's the merchants, the middle class, these are the ones that are being destroyed now because they expand, because they realize that nobody catch them, they're not in jail, they have freedom, and they have weapons. The weapons that they have are weapons that they find fought in war, like in Iraq, in Vietnam, that's what they have now in Haiti. So those people have not a small arms.
It's almost like a third column. You know, where you have, here's the government, here's the people, and here's that middle column of gangsters that is running the show. I mean, we already know this in the '60s when you know, the black middle class left, you know, the segregated areas, and we moved, you know, out to the suburbs, wherever, you know, what it's called, that what was left was, you know, they were saying the least desirable, and they took over the communities because they had to survive, because they didn't have, you know, unemployment. You know, people talk a lot about the drug problem, but you can't talk about the drug problem without talking about the poverty that forced people to make a decision in order to, you know, for their people to survive. So the same way in Haiti, the government doesn't run that show anymore. When what you call was there talked about,
No, one is not a leader, is not a leader.
Well, they have various groups. Now, the groups are now fighting against each other. Now, like, for example, I think 2 weeks ago, there was a group that killed so many people. And once that group trying to turn, they think they were okay, they had a big shark, and they were all of them in their weapons. They were going somewhere else to kill so many other people. And on the corner, they reached with another group that was stronger. They destroyed all of them. So this is what is going on right now. It's like the gangsters killing each other.
it's a civil
once-
war. Yeah, that's a
if-
nice.
Civil War.
That's
It's a
an
civil war.
interesting
It's
way,
a
but
big
in
enough
the
civil
case of
war.
a civil war though, but it's a civil war among the little people that became big. You know, because the government, I mean, like most oppressed governments, they trying to figure out a way to first of all survive themselves, because they're in a moment now, the poor people can no longer follow the rules. And they can then go into the neighborhood because of what you call told an incredible story doing the first, no, not the, I'm asking you what's the name of the priest, the Haitian priest.
Oh, when I was Steve.
When Aristide was in office, and they were saying that the guy who told the story was an ambassador to the Bahamas, Randall Robinson, and he said that they were all in this beautiful, you know, vista, and all the guests, all the international guests, and all the what's called, and then they had the people, you know, in the back, like a background. But he was saying at some point in time like this, where all of a sudden it seemed like the people were coming, you know, towards the rich, because they were all sitting there with look, you know, with their heads, etc. And Aristide did this, and they stopped. And he was saying that the power of that and the terror of that, and that the elite, they understood that, and that's the reason why he had to be checked. Nobody is talking about what his policies were. You know, because people talk all that trivial stuff as if that was gonna really change. But what Brandon was trying to say that most people didn't get because they constantly running their mouth is that this dude has such incredible power that it terrifies you. I mean,
Yes, it is. But also, like, for something that is going on right now, is like if the police ended up catching any one of those people, they have to release them right away. If they don't, they were gonna get in trouble. So the gangs now are more powerful than the police. Right now. So that's it.
Oh,
Yes.
now, Lucky Pastor, if you have a message to send to the government, Asian government, if I know like U.S. government is the friend of Asian.
Yes.
Which your message for the Asian government and the American government about
Okay.
Asian?
For the Haitian government, I will tell them the best thing to do right now is to share whatever they have instead of taking everything. They bury the money under the ground, they're selling the money outside of the other countries. And then send the money, people were able to send like $30, $40 million, come in and hide them in countries like the United States, France, or everywhere. What I would say to the United States, to France, or these countries, why don't we stop those people? You know the money is not belong to them. Stop them. Just take those money because, like, even in Florida, so many Haitians died, leave $1 million house.
they get stolen.
They're stolen from the people. Where do they get that money? And some of them, they don't even know their family are not there. They don't know belong. Those things happen everywhere. Like, so these are wasted people's money that are wasting. So they know that what they can do is to stop those people from traveling. They should not even let them travel. They should not even give them a visa if they're stealing like that. Yeah.
But I also think, I'm sorry.
Nothing.
No, I was just saying, I also think that the message to the Haitian government is their time is up.
Your time is
I mean, because it's not like these people have been working and, failing and struggling, et cetera. No. And the other thing that is disturbing is I would say, look at your own self-interest. This is a small island. We know, like in New York City, where you can walk a block, you live in see poverty, you turn the block and you're on Park Avenue.
Yes.
That's the kind of, imagine that being in a small island where you have, I had a friend that invited me to Haiti, and like, oh, you don't have to be dealing with the people because we'll be staying up on the island and we got American security to protect us. And I'm like,
All the individuals have their own law.
and they all look, they all wanting security, exactly, because the gangsters almost really got that from the wealthy. Because the wealthy have always had their machine guns and the whole thing. And you know what I told him? I said that there is no way that I would go to any country in a situation like that, a contrast like that. I wouldn't be able to sleep in your beautiful home because I would be thinking that I would be murdered in my base.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of my Liberian friend who, when I was in Harvard and tutoring him, and I made the statement that, Christianity, some of them dumb, because I was young, some of them dumb statements about, Christianity has done nothing for black, stuff like that, and you don't know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a crew. The Liberian Americans came over to this country after they were enslaved in America, came back here and they proceeded to enslave us. The only way that I was able to get an education is because of American missionaries.
Mm-hmm.
They came to my village, and they really, what it called? He said, now, exactly. He said, 'cause my whole thing was that, oh my God, how cool, you murdered those people on the beaches. They took, in Liberia, they took all the leaders, that's my fellow. Hey, he said, your time is up.
Yeah.
They took all of the leaders, and what made disturb me, those were children too, and just murdered them all on the beach. It was blood everywhere. But what my friend was trying to tell me, Russell, there are consequences for that. That didn't start there. That started way back. Yeah. If they had came
More publicized.
exactly. If they had come to us and tried to unite with us to help build the country. But no, they decided we're gonna do a colonial thing. We're gonna have y'all working. He said that I had all 80 I would be sweeping the floor at the University of Liberia, with Black American Liberia. They would have all the money, all the money pump. That's a recipe for disaster. Because people begin to be resentful and say, you're denying me, you know, that sort of thing. But
Yes, but in Haiti, that's what happened. There's such a division even among the people. It's like those who have the money feel like, you know, I can slave the poor one, they don't have anything. So I can do whatever I want. I send my kids to the United States, I send them to Canada, I send them to France, they study and they come back and exploit the people there. They're rich, nothing gonna happen to them. They have a new car, they have everything. You know, they have an army that's protecting them, they're fine. As long as it's not us, it's them.
Yeah, right, yeah, but that assumes it'll be them.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like the us becomes them,
Right.
you know?
Can't escape it, and that's what
Yes.
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your writing process and how you come from like having a lived experience to it becoming an idea for a fictional and also non-fictional story to actually having a book in your hands. Like, what was that experience like for you?
Actually, it's not easy because sometimes it does come a lot of tears. I like
Yeah.
to write at night. So I will be waking up in the middle of the night and start writing about, you know, I started with, like, for example, short story. That's how I started it. And I start writing it. And once I have like 1,500 words, I said, my goodness, that can expand. And I keep writing it to come to 1,000 words. And actually this book, after I started writing it, I put it down because I said, you know, where do I go from there? And I was invited into a writing workshop in Dorchester. And I went, we had to write 60,000 words in 30 days. So I said, you know what, I am going to do that. So many people came, they fell. I said, I'm gonna do it, and that's how I did. I did not do 60,000, I was going to do 50,000. With that 50,000, I had 1,500 before, and I continued the book, and then I just went through the process of taking corrections in it. That's how this book come about after that workshop. Because I didn't know I was ever going to be able to finish it.
Poetry, you want poetry also?
Yes, I write the poetry. Poetry, for some reason or another, is not very easy for me because every day I write poems until now. Every morning I get up, I think about something, and I put it into poetry. I have so many of them, I just read that.
That's good.
Yes. And right now, I'm also working in a book which is a love story.
Oh.
Which is a love story.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent, you have books.
Thank you very much. And here are the books and different books that I have now. I have one called Grandma Josephina and the White Boy. I love that book a lot because that's completely, you know, it's reminded me of so many things. When I was writing it, it's like thinking about myself, and the book came out. And also I have another book. What's another book that I have?
Do you have siblings?
Yes, I do have, at first we were 23 of us.
You're ashamed of your father?
No, we
Oh,
have
okay.
a really different mother and father. And so but the one thing that my father did is to raise all of us in one place. So my father was not in politics, but he was one of
Your
those
husband.
people that had, so he had a lot of land and had
A woman.
he was going to build a house for each of those women. And the good things that I love about it, they were never fighting each other. They were living across each other. And we could move from one to the other. If we got one house, we always lived in one house. And we got used to each other, we never fight with each other until today.
Are your brothers and sisters as educated as you are?
Yes, yes. I have 3 sisters now in Florida. They are well educated.
And that's, so you still have siblings at home and in Haiti?
In Haiti, I have one sister and I have one brother.
They must be very rich.
They, not now because of what's going on, they were well to do, but with what is going on right now, it's so difficult right now for me to get rich. Recently, I think there was an earthquake that just
Oh, yeah.
to that area completely destroyed my brother's house. Yeah,
Oh, they stole it?
yeah, destroyed almost everything. Yeah, that's okay.